Hey, I'm Gavin at the JKD Bootcamp, the garage gym here, and today I was going to talk a little bit about some footwork. A few people that have been asking me online or whatever, maybe they don't go to a club or whatever, and they just want to get started with some movement and some drills and stuff. And I thought I'd just share some footwork, just something that a lot of people don't train nearly enough. And anyways, first I'll start with just a basic stance of what works for me. And you're going to have, through experimentation and sort of self-discovery, you're going to find what works best for you, depending on what your favorite techniques and ways you like to move around is. But generally I tell people, just imagine that you're running and you're sliding on some ice, something like that, something that you feel like you have good base, you have enough base that you feel sturdy, but your feet are not so close together that you don't have the base, but they're not so far apart too that you lose your mobility. So we want to find something in between of, we want base, we want mobility, we want kind of a more rounded kind of set of attributes there. So what I like to do personally is I like to have my stance something like this. It's not totally forward, like maybe at different times I change it depending on what I'm doing, but in a general way it's kind of like this. It's halfway between traditional kind of kicking art and between a kind of a punching, like boxing or whatever. So I like to have it around here for the most part, and I do switch it up depending on what I'm doing. But for here, I like to feel sort of even on my feet. I like to have my rear foot on my toe a lot so I can explode forward quicker. Okay, so a lot of times I have my rear calf ready to advance me forward. Okay. So that's a basic kind of stance. Like I say, I'm not really strict on that at all because you're going to have to tweak it to what your needs are. Everyone has different needs when it comes to what they like to do and what things they particularly will excel at. Okay? So for here, it's going to be something like this. Okay? And the very first footwork that people are mostly going to do would be starting out with little micro movements. We're going to do the step and slide. So it's going to look like this. From this position, I'm going to take a little step forward and bring my foot behind. So it's something like this. Moving forward, when I want to go backwards, I'm pushing off here, stepping and going backwards. Forward, I'm pushing off here, going forward. So backwards, forward. These are just micro movements that you're going to constantly adjust the range to your target. Sometimes you're really close already, you might be doing something, but I need a little bit of a shuffle, so I might just shuffle in with a little step and slide. So they're not generally your more explosive movements, they're just subtle ones that you're going to adjust your range with. What I call range, sometimes people call fighting measure or some other terminology, but range is just adjusting that distance between my opponent. So avoiding their kicks or their punches, or getting in a range myself where I can apply my techniques. So with the step and slide, we're going to go forward, we're going to go backwards, we're going to push off this way and go sideways, we're going to push off this one and go back. So it's just a little step, little step, little step, little step, just like that. Forward, backwards, sideways, sideways. Now, when we want to apply that with more aggression, more power, explosively, that's where we use a footwork. It's a variation of the step and slide, but it's often called the push shuffle. Okay, so a push shuffle looks almost identical to a step and slide, but it's more about exploding forward, not just stepping and adjusting, but using that back leg and exploding forward. Rather than just stepping, coming up, I'm going to explode forward, explode backwards, explode sideways. Boom! It's more of an explosive movement. The push shuffle is often used to advance into an attack. Sometimes I'll use that footwork where I'm out of range and I might be ready on here and I'm just going to come in and do an attack. Just like this. Just like that. So that's one of the ways we use it. We also use a footwork called, one more thing, with the push shuffle. Sometimes you see, if you've seen some of the Bruce Lee movies or something, where he often uses a push shuffle, but he does it a couple in succession. So it kind of looks like this. He's forward then backward, but he does it really quick. Boom, 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 boom. And when you kind of combine it like that, some people call that the rocker shuffle. It's just another variation of that. Okay, another one we use is called the pendulum footwork. The pendulum footwork deals with a couple of footwork problems which are kind of interesting. Sometimes your weight is on your lead leg. Sometimes I have my weight already on that leg, and to advance forward when my weight's already on the leg, I can actually do a little hop off this leg and switch my feet. That's one scenario. Another scenario I use it a lot for is I like using it in the shuffle kick to the groin. Okay, it covers a lot of ground really quickly. Okay, and so if I'm far away here, like a typical groin kick would just be lifting my leg and getting this kick right here, just like that. But the thing is, often I'll be further away, so I'm not necessarily in that range. So if I'm further away, maybe almost double my distance, I can actually put my rear foot, by putting my weight on my lead and doing a little bit of a hop and shifting my back one, I can actually cover a lot of distance. I can go right there, boom. So I'm back here, right there. So that's where the pendulum footwork comes in. It's sometimes when we're covering distance like that, or when the weight's loaded up on our front. So at this point I want to still advance. I can't push off my back lead because my weight's here, so I can just pop forward like that. Okay. As well as that footwork, we here do a lot of the collie as well, and the collie footwork is really effective for zoning to zero pressure. And what that means is some arts, like you see in Kung Fu a lot, you see a lot of centerline fighting, which is great. We do that too. It has its place. But we also do offsetting to zero, what I call zero pressure, where the force is coming forward, but I'll go to the side. Okay? So we do that with triangle footwork. So imagine a triangle here, coming in, and I'm offsetting, I'm stepping to the side here, zoning to the side, going this way, or going this way. So forward it would look like this. I'm here, I'm stepping this way. You know, sometimes I might do it with a little slip, a little parry, whatever. If it's empty hand, parry, slip, I might come in there, boom, maybe a trap, or a trap hit, or a catch, various things. It can also be done in reverse. Okay, rather than advancing forward with this triangle, I can also go backwards, just like this, backwards as well. I can bring my feet backwards. I'm adapting to the situation. Forward, forward, backwards, backwards. Another thing we do sometimes is a scissor step. Different people might call it something different, but it's kind of like the motion some people do in a kick or something, but sometimes I'll be forward and I'll be clearing my leg out of range by just picking it up and moving it back. Maybe someone's going to attack that leg, whether it be with a knife or with empty hand or with some kind of like a kick or something. I can simply just take the leg back and then recover, okay? Rather than moving my whole body, which uses more energy and maybe takes more time. I can just bring it back and then bring it forward, okay? So that's like a scissor step. So bringing it back, bring it forward. Boom, getting it out of the way. Because oftentimes they're going to attack my closest targets. Like it makes sense in the economy of motion, theory. So often my closest targets would be my leg, my arm, my face, my kidney section. So by clearing that out, I've avoided that attack and I can then apply my own attack. So we'll leave it at that for today. There's some footwork. And then next time I'll go into how to use the footwork into some striking. All right? Have a good day and enjoy. Bye.